So, hi, welcome to a new video. Today, we're going to continue talking about social media. What is social media? And we can give also a definition for each social media platform as well, but we're starting from the concept, subjects related to it, and we've been doing it for a while, so for some time now. So, you can also check the other videos as well, and we're going to continue with this one. We do have presence, and I really like that there. It means that allows users to know where other community members are, online or offline. Relationships, what about them? This allows community members to visualize their network in many ways, ranging from likes and followers followed to virtual representation of real life relationships. These social graph abstractions can be unique and bidirectional and allow a strong and weak ties. For example, following on Twitter is not necessarily principal or reciprocal, whereas a connection on LinkedIn requires both parties to accept the connection and both to indicate the nature of their relationship. And that nowadays is not even necessary. You can send the connection to the person on LinkedIn. The other person can accept it, but that's it. It's just a connection in common because that's another function of some algorithms to show up with people on your suggestions page that could be related to you, but not necessarily means that that person knows you or that you know that person. But let's go back to Facebook. Do you remember when we wanted to have like as many friends as possible? Like that was like some kind of a trend, one of the first trends, but it was in terms of the connection or personal relationships inside the social media platform. We didn't even care if we knew the person, but the person who had the most amount of friends inside the platform, it was like more popular to be said that way. And so sort of kind of not meaning connections, but people that wanted to be friends with that person. It is something before Instagram, something really, really similar to when Instagram came by, but it wasn't friends anymore. It was followers. So we wanted to mimic that. Since the beginning, we wanted a for us to become popular and also to be perceived as popular because that was a public number. Why was that so important to us for other people to know how many followers we had, how many friends we had, even though we didn't even know like 90% of that people? It was the prelude to followers nowadays. Like, why do so many people follow that person? Who is this person? We're looking for recognition. We're looking for acceptance. Yeah, from other people as well. And it's just like, why? And what would have happened is if the number wasn't public, wasn't out there? What would have happened? I always wonder that. But we also have groups, refers both to membership groups where users can articulate their affiliations with or interest in and a specific subject, and groups utilized by user to manage their relationship. I love this one, reputation. It allows users to qualify the content provided by another user and establish trust levels between community members. These trust levels can be made explicit, for example, through a scoring or ranking system, LinkedIn influencer status, Stack Overflow point system, or remain pleasing Twitter number of followers. Many of the platforms provide users with the ability to integrate other applications. Through the integration of two or more platforms, the building blocks, the affordances of one system can be greatly enhanced, but also jeopardized. For example, in the personal thread in Facebook, the identity or a fairly anonymous Twitter account becomes much more personal on Facebook. Vice versa, a Facebook post visible inside that platform only could reach much wider audience when simultaneously posted on Twitter. One of the reasons will be because since Facebook was intended to be a more personal platform in terms of who you were connecting with, it's just that if you post something and then your uncle, your aunt, your coworker, your ex classmate are going to see that, immediately they're going to react to it. It's more likely for them to interact with the post than just random people on a social media platform that do not even have to connect with people to start with. You only have like right away the option to interact. We have having the need of a following base type of thing. It's not a principle to look for people. It's not a principle to even follow people. You can follow communities. And yes, that's with Facebook have been changing, but originally, people to people type of searchability, of interaction, discoverability. The inherent integrative nature of Web 2.0 applications makes the assessment of the functional blocks in a simple application platform difficult at the least and meaningless at most. Integrated social media systems combine their capabilities and thus could be assessed as a system and not as individual applications. However, this possesses another challenge. Specific applications and technologies can be combined by the end user to meet their individual needs. So that is social media system of one user is not necessarily the same or comparable to the social media system of another user. Arguably, definitions of social media and landscapes or groups would address this challenge. Or we were talking about that there isn't like a established social media definition or that out there wasn't like some years ago, and that was insane because academics couldn't just go in between and say like, hey, let's we just one. These definitions enhance the technical definition of Kaplan and Helen by adding the connection element, list of interconnected users, and a human element, profiles. However, the boundless of these systems, the ability of users to integrate and combine applications and features into a new unique system is explicitly excluded in this definition. Also, the interactive nature of social media, the ability of users to establish and maintain social contact is not made clear. Nowadays, that one particular parameter is really ambiguous. We also have the social computing as a placeholder for online IT technologies, which enable and facilitate social interactions and are deeply embedded in day-to-day human interactions. The focus on any technology which supports relationships like collaboration is also supported by Kapor and et al. In 2017. These definitions highlight the social nature of social media and focus on interpersonal communication and information exchange, independent of technological platforms involved. These views lean towards the performative view, concentrating on what the platforms are used for rather than what the technology was inserted to support. Despite a plethora of definitions and viewpoints being available in many of the applications, websites, platforms which we naturally perceive as social media are not covered by these definitions. The applications are accessible through apps and not only through websites. We have WhatsApp or Facebook as an example, which makes the social media site term too narrow. Always online through notifications, desktop applications, and on mobile, which is not mentioned in either definition and is not covered by the presence building block, as they become intrusive. Integrated and medium reach, which goes beyond simple interactions. Support passive sharing of content when information is pushed towards users without the creator actively doing that, which extends the relationship beyond explicitly made connections. And I love this one. This is what people are saying like, well, that evolved pretty bad because we have like entire feeds of suggested, and I highlight that suggested content to us. So we are like very, very far away. We evolve, or the systems evolve that concept, and they are just putting what we might likely like. And then for us to decide like from a bunch of stuff. But the thing is that nowadays is so fast that we just scroll down one video after the other, and the videos are already there. Like they agree. It's not like a stop to thing. You just like, just take that, take this, take that, and you just consume and consume and consume as much as you can, what you can from this previous election I made for you. So this one in both pretty, pretty bad. But what about the difficulty of positively identifying social media? This might become obvious in a study, but we also have a multiple case study performed in 2013 to 2017, which focuses on the impact of social media use and interorganizational communication process. The researchers' understanding of social media was different from that of the other case study participants, and the participants did not agree on one single definition. The following section presents this study and the resultant questions that I'm going to tell you right now. So we have social media use in the context of human resource management. This was investigated in a comparative case study conducted in three large organizations in the UK. Traditionally, HR communications were one-way top-down communications with limited feedback mechanisms. In the case, organizations' employee feedback will be sought and collected through annual employee surveys or biannual employee surveys, without any means for the employees to provide immediate feedback on HR initiatives, activities, and policy. This flow has been challenged by the emergence of social media when social media platforms, which are open and freely accessible by employees, become part of communication resources. The information of social media in the case of organizations lead to enhance ability of management to seek timely employee feedback on one hand, and to diminish ability of the management to control and censor this feedback. I don't know if you ever noticed that nowadays your municipality might have some kind of social media present. Institutions like private school, public schools, perhaps, like at least like one digital asset they might have from a festival, from some kind of, hey, we're going back to classes type of post. Like, hey, your municipality doing the cultural post that they're going to be having this type of fair or event. Nowadays, they also have social media presence. And we have been going through putting everyone in social media, even though perhaps they might not want it. I think it is better for diffusion, 100%. But also, they I know sometimes they might feel the rush to be on the loop, to be where everyone is going to be at. Like, hey, we need some presence. People aren't reading the newspaper anymore. People aren't hearing the radio anymore. Like, we need to get out to our citizens. We need to get out to our students and create a way for they can actually see the cultural assets, the environmental assets, the academical assets of what we're doing, because otherwise we're going to be behind. And of course, people aren't going to contribute anymore, or they just will be simply not informed. So, yeah, that also evolved in a way, but cannot just deny it. And yeah, they also have to be involved to pretend informants anonymity, whatever a proprietary house developed software was used. The name of the product has been changed by the authors to avoid the identification of these organizations. During the data collection and analysis stages of the research, two issues became obvious. First, The differentiation between public and in-house social media was consistently being made by interviewees. Second, the conceptualization of social media differ from interview to interview. Interviewee to interviewee. The following sections discuss the observed differences and others that need to be for a redefinition of social media. And that section is we have two organizations, UK Bank and UK Outsourcing, uses similar application for internal communications. Both applications provided similar functionalities. Users had profiles, groups can be created by users and by administrators. Messages and media can be shared individually or within the group in a asynchronous manner. One of the interviewees in UK Bank described the Bank Talk in-house tool, which allowed employees to have direct in-group conversations. We also have this as something common, but I think it is important to continue. The participants in UK sourcing were excited about the relational value of the tool. It acted as a shrinker, blurring departmental divisions and bringing geographically separated employees closer together. This platform was so much social that UK outsourcing report struggles with middle management not permitting employees to use the communication platform. They want to block it because it is social media, right? The statement dismisses the tool as not social media. Simultaneously, Yammer, an online private communication platform which had very similar functionalities, was described as a collaboration tool as well as being social. In the third organization, UK Consulting, the use of Microsoft SharePoint was considered social media by one interviewee and not by another. While one interviewee considers SharePoint as a work tool, others consider it as part of a wider social ecosystem. One application which integrated with other platforms provided social media functionality for internal collaboration and communication. Looking at these anecdotal examples, the question of definition of social media through the use of the application rather than through its functionalities might appear appropriate. Whoever former these lens provide a better and more craft definition. But what is in-house social media? Some interviewees in each one of the organizations made explicit differentiation of using social media platforms for private and personal purposes. Professional purposes. Some of the platforms were stated to be used internally, others only externally. However, the boundaries of some platforms were blurred. This realization in part supports findings from other research which call for focusing on in-house social media use. However, enterprise social media, a concept coined by Leonardi in others, deviates from the perception of the interview within our studies. That the first defining property of the enterprise social medium is the ability to communicate messages with the specific coworkers or broadcast messages to everyone in the organization. The participating organizations were using public social media platforms for internal communications, an exchange which inevitably resulted in those exchanges becoming public. For example, UK outsourcing employees in the recruitment area would share each other's roles on LinkedIn to attract candidates or tag the hiring managers in their job postings. On the other hand, UK consulting employees will use an internal social media platform for collaboration with external audiences. The clarification of what in-house means is essential here. Is an in-house system a system which is developed in-house or one which is used for internal communications only? Or one which has both this property, internal develop and use of intra-company communication. Further, the way in which the platform use was sanctioned by management and in which the employees use these platforms also varies. An organization as employees reporting defies a deviant use of social media platforms. This actual use, misuse, not use, other use defies a region or definition of in-house social media. For example, the recruiters in UK Bank were instructed to use LinkedIn to track candidates and arrange interviews. Instead, they migrated into Skype and WhatsApp to talk to potential candidates. Employees in UK consulting were encouraged to use networking to share projects, documentation with clients. Instead, they used SharePoint and emails to collaborate. UK outsourcing employees are asked to use the private Yammer platform to share and consume information about the organization. And instead, 10 times more employees are participating in LinkedIn groups than in similar groups on Yammer. These, again, anecdotal observations pose the question of whether a differentiation between in-house and public social media is possible or even meaningful. But let me know. We're going to continue this study on another video. So remember to follow, subscribe, to follow this line of mini series that I'm doing without even intending to, which is great. So see you in another video. Bye bye.